Welcome back. We dug through our cards real quick, and this is what we ended up with. So we are definitely a little bit in the party mechanic, not to lean too heavy on the Nimble Trap Finder, but most everything we're going to be casting as creatures go fall within the party mechanic, which hopefully we can get the whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Until end of turn situation going with that, if it stays on the battlefield long enough. Lowest on clerics at 2, rogues at 8, wizards at 3, and actually we have no warriors. Just kidding, we will not be getting the ultimate there. Do we have any warriors at all? I don't think we did. So we whiffed there. So, yeah, there's that. It can be unblockable damage. That's half decent too. So we got removal and 2 bubble snares because they're cheap and easy to use. Got a couple of rogues going with the Wind Robber and the Duelist. Of course, more removal with the Thirst. I really like that card. Chill Depths, decent booty for 2, and also keeping them from untapping when it blocks that creature, does damage to that creature. Skulker, getting Death Touch is always a good thing, especially since we have mostly rogues. Null Priest of Oblivion, and it's Menace, Lifelink. We get it out early, so we're kind of in a weird deck here of heavy on 2 drops, low to the ground creatures. We'll see how that goes, but our emphasis is on flyers, and then we get into Soaring Thought Thief. So mill the opponent. I don't think we'll be ever milling the opponent to the win, but also sometimes putting their big bomb rare into their graveyard is a really big play, so mill can be helpful in that regard. 2 Field of Research to draw more cards and keep the engine going. 2 Mind Drains because we're greedy and we want to just keep our opponent off of resources. 2 Sky Dancers, again, Flash Flying. Shadow Stinger, the ability to turn on Death Touch to hold up the battlefield on the ground. Also, potentially mill more if we feel like doing that. Expedition Diviner is kind of our real top end. Hopefully we get there before we get to the more expensive stuff. So again, just a 3/2 flyer going over top. Hopefully in the early game will be tough for our opponent to deal with. The Falconer, again, just a big flyer. Deadly Alliance for top end removal. And then Dreadworm just to put something big on the ground, because I think where we lose here is, though we apply pressure in the air, if our opponent gets too much of a ground game, that could be problematic for us if we don't have late game removal. So to round out the deck, went with Dreadworm. So we got rid of most of our removal. Anti-Cognition can go back into the deck if I feel like we need to have counter spells at the ready. We also, the Ruins with the Disruption can be very good early game. I just didn't feel like that was something I wanted to main deck. It's a little situational. Wizard, I chose Dreadworm over the Wizard just because of its low toughness at 3. And we don't have that many instances and sorceries going on in this deck. So that's kind of what we ended up with. And we already got our card draw, so we didn't need the blood price. Blight Priest, no life gain. Mucklord's just, it's decent, but not that great. Oblivion's Hunger, I'm really not worried about. So this is the deck we ended up with. Kind of a rogues, wizards, flyers, removal. Let's see what it does for us. So let's go ahead and jump into a game, see how the first game goes for us. Bogan Dragonheart is our opponent. Quite the name. We would play first. I don't get that option very often. So this is a pretty decent start for us. Wind Robber turn 1, Cleric turn 2, Dreadworm much later, Bubble Snare removal. Hopefully we draw into our flyers. We will keep this hand. And there, folks, is my very first pet. This will be my first time playing in the arena with a pet on my side of the table. Opponent thinking really hard about their card situation, and we are off to the races with the Wind Robber. see what our opponent is playing. And they are in white. Okay. So let's go ahead and get in for some beef. First blood drawn by us. They know a card. They're also in green. Go ahead and play Flare. So I told you guys that I would tell you my Magic story, and we left off with 4 years ago. 2016, my buddy Jason reintroduced me to Magic as we were hanging out over Christmas, and encouraged me to do a pre-release event at the local game store. Alright, what do we want to do here? I think here's a pretty simple turn. We'll go ahead and swing in for 2 damage. We're being super aggressive. Okay. We'll still attack. We'll get 1 damage. And play the Null Priest. And we're not picking it. And let's play blue. And pass the turn. And so I did, and it was when Oath of the Gatewatch came out, for those of you that remember 2016. And I was super nervous, showed up at the game store, again with a real basic understanding. Jason had done a good job of explaining the mechanics that I was missing from my understanding. I didn't know what planeswalkers were or what they did. I didn't know about cards that had weird things on them, like create tokens. I was like, what tokens? Where tokens? I don't have tokens. Do I need to buy pieces to play this game now? No idea what's going on with these new cards. Because all the cards I had previously played with were really old. Nothing of great value. I went and checked my collection, and nothing crazy there. But anyhow, he showed up as a gracious friend, gave me my first playmat of Jade Valorant, which you will see Jade is right here, and has been ever since I started playing Arena. And that, of course, is my favorite playmat. And yeah, I was able to play my first pre-release event at an actual LGS. It was very, very fun. Okay, opponent has a ton of cards. So we're going to get in with the Wind Robber in gain a little bit of life, so it's a 4-point swing for us. Mill 1 more card. Am I worried about taking 3 on the next turn? It seems a little bit early for Mind Drain. I mean, getting 2 cards out of the opponent's hand is good. They haven't missed any land drops, so likely we get 2 spells, but they might be able to just throw away 2 things that don't mean that much. But it'd be nice to use the mana now. 1, 2, 3, 4. We are 1 turn away from Dreadworm, so we don't want to Mind Drain next turn. We're going to go for it. Let's get 2 things out of their hand. At least try to get them down on resources. If they're flooded, we'll see 2 lands here. See what we get. So anyways, had a great time at the pre-release, and definitely took the blue pill and jumped down the hole, and have really enjoyed being able to finally play the game that I've always been interested in life and kind of dabbled with, and it's been drinking from the fire hose ever since. So we'll go ahead and pass the turn. So I was always just a casual Magic player. Mostly I played Draft. That's my favorite format. I dabbled in Standard, but I never had the money to buy a top-tier deck. So I would just play cards that I got from Draft and pre-releases. So I dabbled a few times at my local LGS. They did have a free Standard event. And the crowd there was very gracious, and a newer player that made tons of play mistakes. But they were very welcoming, even though in that situation I got my face smashed in a lot. And often that was due to control decks. And so way back then I set a goal for myself that I wanted to someday be a good enough player to captain a control deck. It's always been one of my big goals. So thank you to Jason for helping with my education. He would talk to me about cards and decks that he was playing, and back then I didn't understand the terminology by any means that I was hearing. As we pause here, let's see. So we definitely get in with the Wind Robber. No, we don't, because that has reach. This is why it's important to read your cards. Menace doesn't do us any good here. So I don't think we do much here. So we can Dreadworm now, which gives us a good blocker, or Sky Dancer and start punishing more in the air to apply more pressure to our opponent. I think we're going to go ahead and dread one. Let's just get a big cloud beef on the battlefield, and then unfortunately we're just going to say go. And see if they have something crazy they're going to throw down this turn that will want to bubble snare next turn. So he would say, you know, I've got removal on a stick and this cantrip, and you know, playing a Golgari deck, and just all the terminology we use as Magic players, which I've learned to understand much better and really enjoy. But back then, I was just like, oh man, I have no idea what we're talking about. Every time I talked to him, it was once again drinking from the fire hose of information. And my goodness, Outrider making that a 6/6. We do have Death Touch on the board with the Null Priest, so let's see if they're bold enough for that in. And that's a permanent situation, which is bad for us, especially in a Flyers deck. So I think our target right now is the Snarecaster as the bigger threat against what we want to be continuing to do in our deck. Let's see if the opponent's bold enough to come in against Death Touch. And they are. They will offer the trade. But they're not sure about it. Are they reading my cards? Oh wait, I do not have Death Touch. That's actually my bad. I have Menace and Lifelink, not Death Touch. The situation just got that much more worse. Don't know that I just want to take steps repeatedly. Chump blocking feels bad. Wind Robber's a great chump blocker if you have mana up, so you at least draw a card. And maybe that's what we set up for next turn. Yeah, we're going to take 6 here. Double block? Nope. We'll take 6. Yep. Decision made. Alright. -2. What does that do for us? I'm a little bit distracted because I'm telling you guys a story, but the Far-Sided Depth obviously didn't keep those counters. So much more of something that we can handle now that it's smaller, which kind of reinforces my decision not to try to double block it and take this pick while we're ahead on life. So Bubble Snare here feels pretty good. It's going to cost us 4, which means we hold up Duelist. I think that's what we want to do here. So let's pay the kicker cost, get this darn Reef Creature out. And then let's go to Rumble. So definitely Wind Robber. Null Priest is good in this situation. Do we send the Dreadworm? I don't think we do. I think we hold up the Duelist and go ahead and get damage while we can. The opponent can let us eat the Outrider if they want. Otherwise, they're taking 8 damage. They will let 8 damage happen. Down to 6. Roll a card. Hold up Duelist. See what the opponent does on their turn. So anyways, I think I was somewhere in the story about playing at the LGS, dabbling in Standard, the good guys that were there that was willing to play against a newer player that didn't understand things quite as well. But for the most part, a very casual player. What are we doing here? +1, you gain 2 life, additional land this turn, draw a card. Yep. And again, dabbled in Standard, mostly played Draft and pre-release. Pre-release was my favorite event by far. I always took summers off. Magic's always been a casual hobby of mine, more of a fall-winter thing that I do. And that's pretty much been my story up until this year when COVID hit. So I will note that when I was playing at the LGS, I felt like I was a pretty good draft player. I was able to get a decent amount of wins. See if they're going to attack here. But since playing in the arena, and much more heavily in arena, of course, due to COVID, I tend to not do well in draft on arena. Trying to work those skills back up. That's what you're witnessing today. Hopefully you can learn from my mistakes, and hopefully I will learn from my mistakes, and we can both become better players in the future. So, they held up 2 blockers here. And slowly going towards combat, maybe they have a trick up their sleeve as they read our creature card. They're going to tap our Dreadworm. Only indestructible on the landfall, it is not hexproof. So we can't get in with anything but the Wind Robber here. The Duelist doesn't really create a trade option for us. Opponent playing slow and small. We'll go ahead and pack. One of the reasons I was able to become a good draft player, to give another shout out to not only my local LGS, but the players therein, is a lot of the more advanced players when I was drafting were very kind to me, and as an adult new player. Oh no, not Yasharn. Not Yasharn. That is a really good card, especially if you're in a much more landfall king deck. But anyhow, they would offer to evaluate after they smash my face in. A lot of times playing those better players, they were playing cards that I had evaluated as not good in the draft, and they had picked them up and then beat me with them. And so there were very many times when they would offer to take a look at my cards, my deck, make suggestions, and I learned some of the important basics of drafting and Magic in general, like those really expensive card draw spells are actually really good. I was like, who would draft this? It costs 5 to draw 3? That sounds terrible. Why would I pick that card? I want this shiny creature or whatnot. So definitely was able to be humble enough to accept the knowledge that they were willing to share, and definitely appreciate that they were willing to share that knowledge. Opponent's really thinking about attacking with the Outrider. So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to Zulaport, trigger on the Outrider, make it a 2/4. And then we will block with Chill of the Depth to keep that block down. So I'll deal with that next turn. And let's go ahead and get the Skydancer in. Why not? Run out of cards, some card draw would be nice here. Oh, not lands. I do have a huge tendency to get flooded out in the arena. More so than I ever remember getting flooded out often at the shop. Okay, so I think we leave Wind Robber up. We're getting the good game from the opponent already. Interesting. 5, 6, 7, 3. I think the opponent's given up yet. Are they going to block with the Yasharn? They have to stay alive if they want to trade. Opponent down to 4. Play a Swamp. Now we're down to the nitty-gritties. What is our opponent going to do here? So they can't swing. They're not quite dead in the air, but no priest unless they cast a creature here will get through as well for lethal. I'm always still confused by the good game without a cube. Unless they're being snarky, which likely you're casting Shepherd of Spirit. So we continue to battle it out here. Hoping to top deck something sweet. Did I miss lethal on that next turn? Or that last turn? So this is why I started recording these videos. If I swung with everything, did I have lethal? That is the question. Alright, well, hello, lethal. So we will kick it right into the face. We will go to lay combat. That's 1, 2. Oh, yeah, they gained life. Just kidding. Don't get too excited. Null Priest. Yep. Going down to 7. Still going card. We're down to 8 cards in hand, so actually we might mill them out. See how this game goes for them. We do have plenty more removal in the deck. We spent 2 pieces. We've got more. Skewed Swarm with land to activate it. That's obnoxious. And we'll see a land come down here. Create a focus opponent on a go wide strategy, which is working pretty well. We need another flyer. I'd actually take a flyer over removal right now just to apply that extra pressure. Surprised we haven't seen removal from our opponent. I keep on being tempted to sack the Wind Robber to draw a card, but that's 1 damage that's gotten through every turn of the game so far, so he's been doing good work for us. We're going to leave him in for now. Well, we're 21 minutes into game 1 of the tournament. This is a long one. Oh my goodness, come on. I don't need any more lands, deck. Why would you do this to me? Our deck not being very nice. Okay, so we get in the air. Hold up our counter magic here. And I bet you we see a big attack from the opponent next turn. They still got some cards. I'm willing to bet that they're better cards than what we have. So to finish off the story, if I could do that quickly while my opponent's taking their turn. 2020 hit, of course, with the COVID. I began playing a lot more in the arena, and I was playing more often, so I obviously couldn't afford the drafts because I didn't spend money in arena, and so I started playing standard in arena. And you guys remember the World Tour when Peter Della Rosa, I'm sorry, I'm messing up his name, PVDR, played the blue-white control deck. I net decked for the first time, and also for the first time started playing in the ranked queue. Alright, really big attack by our opponent. We're just supposed to scoop here, right? I mean, they gave us the good game. So there, let's see, we got 5, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 coming at us. We definitely survived this hit. And then we attack with everything. See if they tricked us. If they tricked us, good on them. Down to 4. What can they do to stop us from hitting them for lethal? And game 1 is in the book. Take the bow from our little buddy Pet over there. That is game 1. We will see you guys in game 2. Please stick around.